Okay, Mohit, I think now I am audible. Am I audible? Okay. So I'm sorry, I did not check the mic. Yeah, so I was saying that I will be taking some the discussions on few questions, and after that, the discussions on the last two questions will be taken by the Shatakshi ma'am. She has secured 111 marks in GS paper 2, and she has also secured 204 rank in 2024. So the main idea behind this discussion is basically we will be focusing on the structure and the value addition, right? Because as per my experience of last 6 years, many students, whether you are fresher, whether you are veterans, the major problem, what I have noticed in their answer is the structuring of the answer, right? Because as soon as you read the question, do you really think about the structuring? I think the answer, I haven't received any answer from many students that yes, they focus on the structuring. They focus only on the content, whatever the content they have in their notes, right? So based on the notes, what we do, we start interpreting the question, right? So ideally, what we should do, we should first read the question, try to break down the demand into core, non-core demand, what could be the possible value addition we can include in the answer. And after that only, we should be thinking about how to fit the content into that, right? But first, usually what happens, we goes back to our notes, we goes back to our memory कि क्या points हम लिख सकते हैं उसमें, right? So that is not the ideal approach. So in this session, we will pick up each and every question. I will show you how to basically pick up the demand. And please, online students, if you are not sitting with a pen and paper, please do so, because the step-by-step process, the procedure is very important to follow. And whatever you are learning here in this session, it is my request from all of you to go and pick up the previous year's questions and try to apply this step-by-step process or the strategy to brainstorm them, right? Because many of you might be, I think, have asked me, sir, where are the templates to frame the answer? Let me tell you very bluntly that template will not help you if you are not going to practice it. Trust me, there is no fixed template for anything if you don't know how to apply it. Templates are like the mathematics formula. If you don't know how to apply it, you cannot solve the equation. As simple as that, right? So let's begin with this. So the first question was, a constitution is made not merely by its framers, but continuously interpreted, defended, and reimagined by generations. Evaluate. Have you seen the videos where I was live on YouTube day before yesterday? Has anyone seen it? No? So whenever we read the question, there are three things on which we should be focusing on. The first is the tail word in the question. The second thing is the statement of the question. The third thing is the keyword of the question, right? So because based on these three keywords, tail word, statement, and the keywords, we are going to think about the structuring of the answer. We have to find the scope of, or you can say like, what is the scope to divide the demand of the question based on the keywords, right? How to divide the demand of the question based on the statement, and at the same time, what are the tail words? What is the significance of tail words? So these three keywords, you have to keep it in mind. Whenever you are reading the question, please make sure you focus on these three words, okay? So as far as this question is concerned, can anyone tell me why this question is asked? Because this is the first step. You need to understand why this question is asked. Otherwise, you will not be able to write the effective introduction. And even you are going to mess up with the structuring of the answer is. Because you will not be able to balance the point. Many of you might have faced this issue where the answer becomes very monotonous, right? Monotonous means under the significance, you are writing 5 points. Under the issues or challenges, you are writing 5 points. And under the suggestions, you are writing 3-4 points. The same structure I have seen in almost every answer, right? So you should know why the question is asked. Otherwise, you will not be able to balance the number of points. if you have gone through the topper's copy, you will find that in some part of or under some under one subheading, toppers are writing 7 point, 8 point, 9 points, sometimes even 10 points. How do you know that which subheading should have 8 points or 9 points? If you don't know why this question is asked, where are you going to focus on, right? So as far as this question is concerned, why this question is asked, can anyone tell me? What is the logic behind this question? Yes, because Supreme Court has been continuously reiterating that the Constitution is a living document, right? And we have seen the same question UPSC has asked also, right? So based on that, this question was framed based on the previous year's question. So first, let's begin with the idea of introduction, right? What do you think is the best way to start with the introduction? Because this part is very important to understand, and after this session, I'm damn sure you will be clear about the idea of introduction. Because see, it is not about whether you are writing correct introduction or not, right? Introduction should be relevant according to the demand of the question. It has to be relevant, right? So what is the idea of introduction? Can anyone tell me? Are we going to define the Constitution? Yes. Yes, very good. Anything else? So again, the whatever you are saying, we are going to start with the preamble. It is going to be like you are trying to brief or describe about the Constitution, right? But the question is not about the concept. It is about the application, that the Constitution is evolving in the nature. So we must highlight the evolving nature of the Constitution in the introduction, right? Either you can use Supreme Court judgment, or either you can use some phrases, some quotes, right? That is the best way to start with the introduction. For example, use a quote. The Constitution is not a mere lawyer's document. It is a vehicle of life, and its spirit is always a spirit of age. Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar ji ka quote hai ye. You can use this quote, right? And the second way is the Indian Constitution, through crafted by visionary framer like Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar and Nehru, is not static. It is a living document, constantly evolving, right? So this is, I think the last line is missing here. So this is how you should be framing the introduction. So I hope this is clear. Always remember, introduction should be based on the nature of the question, why the question is asked. So the core idea of the question is that the Constitution is evolving, right? So that is what should be reflected in the introduction. When we are going to see the other question, there are other types of introduction which we will discuss, but as of now we can focus on this. Now see, 10 to 15% of the total word limit should be the ideal introduction. 10 to 15% of the total word limit, right? If it's a 10 marker, 15, 20 words is more than enough, I guess, right? And if it's 20 words, 15 marker, 25 to 30 words. But see, you will find even the introduction a bit lengthy, but make sure you are not stretching it unnecessarily. It should make sense, right? Because in the previous introduction, if I have lengthy, so I cannot say that's the wrong way. You can reuse that. Some students, what they do, they put a paragraph between the introduction and the core demand of the question to provide the organic connect, right? To provide the organic connect. That is another thing. Now, focus on statement, keyword, tail words, right? So I will begin with the tail words here. Tail word is evaluate. What does it mean, evaluate? Whenever we see tail word, evaluate is what? It's a critical command word, right? It's a critical command word. There are two types of command words, descriptive and critical. Descriptive are what? Explain, what, right? These are describe. These are descriptive command words. Critical command words are what? Like analyze, comment, right? Examine, to what extent, evaluate. So, but in this question, if the tail word is evaluate, are we going to, I'm asking the question from all of you, are we going to talk about or divide the answer in like how it is evolving and challenges? Are we going to write the challenges or the issues with the evolving nature? Yes. This is a very important point I'm going to discuss today. As far as this evaluate word is concerned, are we going to, has anyone written the issues with the evolving nature? Anyone? Subodh says yes. Ashyut Gopal, yes, very good. We could have started with the quotes. Very good. Guys, I'll come to the queries. Paper is not uploaded. Actually, the link was there. So I'll come to that part. Right? So in this question, the tail word is evaluate, right? But that doesn't mean we should start focusing on the issues also with the evolution. Because whatever is happening, right? Whatever is happening in our constitution, through constitution, it is a positive thing, right? Are we supposed to criticize that the evolution which is taking place through the constitution is a wrong step? Can we say that? Can we criticize this evolving nature of the constitution? Answer is no. Never do that. Even if you are attempting the question related to the government policies, right? If the question does not ask you to, or if the tone of the question is not negative, you are not supposed to fill the entire page with the criticism of the government policies also, because you are going to become a part of the civil government itself. You are going to be a civil servant. How can you just focus on criticizing unless the question says critically analyze, right? So in this question, tail word doesn't mean we have to address the issues. Now, the second part is the statement of the question. Now read the question and tell me. First, I will tell you one thing and then I'll ask you the question, right? Whenever we divide the, or whenever we find the scope of the statement, we get the broad structure. We get the broad structure in the answer. Broad structure means how many subheadings are we going to use? What is the core and non-core demand of the question? Whenever we focus on the keyword, we get the dimensions, or not dimensions, rather templates. So within the broad structure, how are you going to generate the point, right? To generate the points, you have to find the keyword. Which keyword we can break down to generate the point, right? So first we will see what is the broad structure. In how many parts the statement can be broken down? Can anyone tell me quickly how many parts you have written the answer in? In how many parts you have written the answer? Yes, 3 parts, 2 parts, 3 parts. What are those 3 parts? Very good. What about the non-core demand of the question? Anyone? Yes? That will see when we are going to frame the points under interpretation and all. Obviously, you will write the Supreme Court judgment itself, right? Yes, the first line of the question, right? Constitution is made not merely by its framer, right? So this part is basically a non-core demand of the question, right? It is a non-core demand of the question. Framers have contributed whatever they could contribute. Within that framework, or the framework which was provided by the framers is now evolving, right? It is evolving. It is being defending, right? Its interpretation has been changing, right? So this is my non-core demand of the question. And I will not is going to fill my first entire page with this. Always remember one thing, your core demand of the question should always start from the first page. Because the examiner is going to be, or examiner will be interested in reading, or he will be interested in reading the core demand of the question from the first page itself. Otherwise, you will not be able to accommodate the content if you are going to start from the second page, as simple as that, right? Always remember this. In the 4 parts of explore minds, you said the 4 parts of the answer. Yes, you are right. Right? We are supposed to evaluate whether it is evolving or not, and how, and right both sides. Mohit, no, I don't think so. It is evolving. It is you are saying that whether it is evolving or not, it is evolving, right? It is quite visible, right? Though the scope is there, but still. So I hope you got the clarity, right? So there will be 4 subheading in my answer. 4 subheading, right? First for the framers, then the core part will be under 3 subheading, that is interpretation, defended, and reimagined, right? This is my core demand. This is my first subheading, this is my second subheading, and this is my third subheading, right? So my statement is broken down now. Now let's come to the keyword, right? Keywords. There are 3 keywords in the question. What is interpreted? Then defended and reimagined. Now, as far as the interpretation is concerned, can we further break it down? Tell me. Supreme Court judgment, yes. Yes. Yes, very good. Yes, very good. According to the Supreme Court, there are 4 phases of interpretation. There are 4 phases of the interpretation, right? What are those 4 phases? What is the first phase? Textualist approach. Textualist approach, right? I know all of you might have written the transformative nature of the Constitution, right? Many of you might have written this point, that interpretation is changing. Am I right? But that transformative nature of the Constitution or transformative interpretation is the last phase. It is the last phase. So the first phase is textualist approach. Second phase was, what was the second phase? Anyone? Just see, don't focus on the content. Just take yourself back to the various amendments from starting from the A.K. Gopalan case. After that, what was the change in the Constitution? Tell me. What about basic structure doctrine? Right? The limitation on the power of parliament. That was the second phase. Third phase was what? Eclecticism. What was it? Balancing between fundamental rights and DPSP. Right? And the fourth phase was the transformative constitution, especially after the Menka Gandhi case, where we started applying the what? Due process of law. Due process of law, right? So these are the 4 phases of the interpretation, right? For example, this is a non-core demand, so I have not I'm not going to discuss on this, because इसमें one thing you can notice, the framing itself, right? The framers, constitution by the framers. The framers point can also be divided. This keyword can also be divided. Who all participated in the framing of the constitution? Women participated in the framing of the constitution, right? Freedom struggle leaders participated in the framing of the constitution. Their ideas, their philosophies were included, right? Historical acts and precedents also contributed. For example, 1935 Act, 1947 Act, right? So the framers, when I see the word keyword framers, I got the idea who all contributed in the framing of the constitution, right? So this is what I have divided. So see, this is the idea. You have to find the keyword and you have to divide it. Similarly, these are the points you can write down. I have written more content just to give you the idea, but you don't need to like write down 3, 4, 5 points under each, right? Just one example is more than enough, because this is a non-code part of the question. Now the second is, I was talking about 4 phases of the judicial interpretation, right? One is the textualist approach, A.K. Gopalan case, where the Supreme Court applied the procedure established by law, right? If you have not gone through this concept, please go through it. How the constitution has evolved from A.K. Gopalan case to Menka Gandhi case, this entire debate is very, very important to understand. Every year you will find the question based on the application of this evolving nature. I hope this is clear. Now the second is limitation on Parliament's power to amend the constitution, basic structure doctrine. The third phase was electicism, right, where balance between the fundamental rights and DPSP, and then transformative constitutionalism, decriminalization of section 377, expansion of rights under article 21. Most of you might have focused only on one point, and that is transformative constitutionalism. Am I right? So this is the problem. How would you get the marks if someone is going to write down all the 4 phases? If you are not able to recall this electicism wala part, at least textualist approach you know, right? This limitations on the Parliament's power you know, right? Then transformative constitution you know. Am I correct? So yes. So this is how you should be using the keywords to divide the demand of the question. Now, the second is basically, let's see what is the next part. Now, the second is the next keyword was what? How the constitution defended, right? Now, defended, can we divide this further? Is it defended by judiciary only? Is it defended by judiciary only? Judiciary has played an important role. Even our constitution article is there, judicial review is there, constitutional amendment is there to defend the constitution, right? Then civil society to uphold the constitutional morality, we can think from this point of view as well. Then basic structure component and fundamental rights. Are you getting this point? Is it clear to everyone? So when it comes to defending, we have to think in how many ways, right? In how many ways it is being defended. So just by judiciary, I'm sure many of you might have written the points related to the judiciary. Why have you not thought the role of civil societies? Why have you not thought the role of legislatures? Right? They are also trying to defend it. Then the third is, for example, Indira Gandhi Raj Narayan case, rule of law upheld, 44th Amendment Act, post-emergency safeguards, armed rebellion, written cabinet recommendation was included, right? Then S.R. Bumai case, federalism and secularism defended. Navtej Singh Johar case, individual rights got protected, right? Then RTI Act, civil society movement, transparency and accountability when RTI Act was passed, right? Then Narmada Bachao Andolan, environment values were protected. So this is how the constitution being defended, right? So everyone, every stakeholder is being playing an important role. So when we are reading the keyword, we should know whether we are going to apply the stakeholder approach, whether we are going to apply the sectoral approach, right? These stakeholder and sectoral approach. Focus on these keyword, these two dimensions whenever you are interpreting the keyword in the question, right? Similarly, now you tell me, how are we going to divide this part? Reimagined by generation. This is the last keyword. Reimagined by generation. Apply the thought. Whatever we have applied in the two under two subheadings, how can we think about the third point? Okay. No. I don't want you to think about the points. When we say reimagined, at what level we can think about that the constitution is being reimagined? Okay. No, level. At what level? Not points, but at what different level we can think? Yes, anyone from online? When we say yes, 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 very good. Yes, 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 yes. Yep. See, think about from individual level, right? For example, he said right to privacy. Think from the environmental level. It is not reimagined, right? From, you can say at digital level, we can say, right? So there are various ways we can generate the point. Okay, that was the one template. Let me tell you the second template. It just came in my mind. Can we think from DPSP point of view? Can we think from fundamental rights point of view? Can we think from the federalism point of view? Yes or no? Can we think from secularism point of view? In all these aspects, it is reimagined. Don't you know the answer of these questions, the points? If I ask you how the secularism has been reimagined, how the federalism has been reimagined, how the fundamental rights has been reimagined, how the DPSP has been reimagined. Yes, Subho says individual, society level, judiciary level. Yes, very good. Legislature, judiciary, opposition. Very good. So n number of points you can think. It is not, see, the content will not always be there in your notes. Try to understand this part, right? This is how you have to brainstorm. That is what I'm saying. I have started with this discussion that whatever you are learning here, you have to apply it, you have to practice it. If you are not going to practice it, it will not help you, right? So this is what I have done. For example, reimagined by generations like fundamental rights, DPSP, separation of power, constitutional morality, right? So you can further divide, or if you want to use a different template, like he said, at individual level, at society level, at government level, at environmental level, you can include that also. It depends on you, whatever clicks in your mind, right? In the various aspect of thinking for the various level. Yes, you are right. I hope this is clear. Now, the idea of conclusion, right? So the idea of conclusion is either through some phrases. See, always remember, if you are in the phase of notes preparation, right? If you are updating your notes, whenever you see the previous year's question, you will always find that whenever the UPSC has asked the question from the constitution, right, from federalism, right, from secularism, the questions are almost based on the concept, right? Whenever the questions are based on the concept, make sure you should have some quotes or some phrases in your notes. They are the best. Otherwise, it will become very difficult to conclude or to write the best possible conclusion. you will be confused. I am sure today also you might have faced the same problem, how to conclude the answer of this question, right? It might have be it or it might be very generic in nature. So whenever the question is based on the concept, always make sure you use some phrases or some quotes like this. For emergency to equality, the Constitution has proven its elasticity without losing its essence. Or either the Supreme Court of India has repeatedly acknowledged the Indian Constitution is not a static, fixed document, but rather living document that adapts to the changing needs and circumstances of society. Right? So either you can use the Supreme Court verdict as well. Right? So this is how it should be done. Basic clarity is there, how to think about when you are reading the question. Now I'm asking you one question. Have you felt in the entire discussion that there is a lack of content in your mind? Content की तो कोई कमी नहीं है ना. Where was the problem? Structuring of the answer. It is about applying the thought process, right? Because we are giving least important to the structuring. How many times do you spend after reading the question when you are at home? I'm talking about. I'm not talking about in the examination hall. Because the more number of hours, the more time you are going to spend at home, the less number of time you are going to spend in the examination hall. As simple as that. They are inversely proportional, right? So this is the time. At least you should be practicing 10, 15, 20 questions. Brainstorm karo us pe. Sit with your friends who are going to attempt or who are going to give the mains. Right? Whenever you are going for a tea break, just pick up one question. Think about it. Discuss with your friends. Don't talk about the points. Don't talk about the value addition. It will be there in your notes. I'm damn sure about it, especially if you are veterans. But what is missing? Missing is the thought process. Thank you, District Collector. Right? So this is the idea. Now let's go to the second question. Constitutionally, now this question is again very tricky. Okay? And I want to see how well you have structured it. Right? And I think I know what mistakes you might have committed. Right? Constitutionalism serves as a foundation of democratic governance in India. Analyze its role in shaping and sustaining the framework of Panchayati Raj and municipal governance. Tail word is what? Analyze, right? So let's pick up first. Let's begin with the idea of introduction. Now tell me, what are we going to do? Or before you tell me the answer, I will give you the answer. Some of you might have started your answer with 73rd, 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. Some of you might have started with the definition of constitutionalism, right? Any other third option can I get from any one of you? और किसने कैसे start किया है introduction? I'm sorry. Interpreting democracy with the constitutionalism. Okay. Article 40, Mishri says, okay. What else? What is the best possible way? Okay. If I'm going to talk about, see, first focus on the statement which I'm going to say. Whenever you are writing the introduction, always make sure it should capture the entire theme of the question. It should capture the entire theme of the question. You got my point? What is the entire theme in the question? How constitutionalism ensure the democratic governance through the functioning of Panchayati Raj institution. This is the theme of the question. So, if I have to address this part in the introduction, I have to make sure I should start with the constitutionalism. I also have to make sure I should brief about the Panchayati Raj institution also, right? Otherwise, your introduction is going to be one-sided. Your introduction is going to be one-sided. Mohit says constitution provided the framework for democratic decentralization. How? That is what the question is, Mohit. Constitution provided the framework for democratic decentralization, that we all know that, right? But what is constitutionalism, right? So let's see. This is what I have written. Identify which one is the most relevant and why, right? So if you are going to talk about the constitutionalism, though it is correct, but not complete. If you're going to talk about Panchayati Raj institution, 73rd, 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, it is also correct, but not complete. Linking the constitutionalism and democratic governance through the functioning of Panchayati Raj institution is the best possible way. Right? You got the idea of the introduction, for the introduction, everyone? Okay? So next time, whenever you are going to attempt the test, please don't use generic statement. Always think why the question is asked. Always ask this question. Even when you are brainstorming, you should have this question in your mind. Question पूछा क्यों जा रहा है? Then, so this is how I have framed the introduction. Constitutionalism ensures limited government under the rule of law and accountability. In India, it underpins democratic governance, notably through 73rd and 74th Amendment Act, which gave constitutional status to Panchayati Raj institution and urban local bodies. Right? So I have addressed both the things. I have defined the constitutionalism and I have also linked it with the Panchayati Raj institution. So I have addressed the entire theme of the question. Correct? Is it clear? Now tell me, what is the core demand and what is the non-core demand? Let's apply the same thing. Statement, tailword, and keyword. First, we will start with the tailword. Tailword is analyze. Analyze is what? Analyze is critical command word. So we have to write down the issues in the functioning of Panchayati Raj institution that we all know. As far as the statement is concerned, in how many parts the answer will be framed? What is the core demand and what is the non-core demand? How many parts you have divided the answer? Yes? 2 parts. Significance of Panchayati Raj institution and challenges. है ना? Okay, constitution provision you're talking about? Fine. Okay, in your answer, I will ask you the question, right? He's saying almost the same thing. Like first we will discuss the constitution provision, and then we will discuss the challenges, right? Link is missing. What is missing? Read the first statement of the question. ये कहां पे आपने define link किया है? Constitutionalism. How constitutionalism ensure the democratic governance? How constitutionalism ensure democratic governance? ये part कहां है? Has anyone thought about it? Okay, in how many parts you have divided? फिर एक part फिर gap हो गया. Very good, very good. Very good. हाँ, so 3 part हुए ना. Very good. This is the structure is. Right? So the first part is, that is non-core demand of the question. I hope you have addressed it as a non-core demand. Am I right? The first part, how the constitutionalism ensures the democratic governance. पूरा पेज लिख दिया? Okay, fine, ठीक है. I hope this is clear. The first part is, that is non-core demand, how constitutionalism ensures the democratic governance. Second part is how this is linked with the functioning of Panchayati Raj institution, right? How you can say the constitutionalism basically ensure, or how constitutionalism shaping and sustaining the framework of Panchayati Raj institution. Third is challenges, and last is way forward, suggestions. Now, statement we have broken down. Let me come to the keyword. As far as the first non-core demand or the first subheading is concerned, that is constitutionalism serve as a foundation of democratic governance. If you have to address this part of the question, which keyword are we going to pick up and divide? Tell me. Yes? Democratic? Very good. Democratic governance, right? What are we going to do with the democratic governance? How can we divide it? I will tell you two templates to address the answer of this question, right? One is, first we will see this democratic governance. What are the component of democratic governance? What else? Yes, limited government. What else? यार सबसे पहले रूल ऑफ लॉ भूल जाते हो आप लोग. Our constitution is supreme. Rule of law should be the first point, man. पता नहीं कहाँ सोच रहे हो यार. At least pick up some most important keywords or the points, right? हाँ, what else? Okay. Participation, consensus, this is all part of democratic governance, right? So first we are going to link. This is what I have shown. How the constitutionalism serves as a foundation of democratic governance in India, for example. But at the same time, you also have to provide the linking. Otherwise, it will be difficult. Your answer will be one-sided, right? For example, like this. These are the popular sovereignty, rule of law, separation of power, accountability, transparency, participation, responsiveness, equality and inclusion, pluralism, and civil liberties and political rights. Can we say these are all democratic governance? These are the components of democratic governance, right? Now what you have to do? Question is, the major theme is how constitutionalism ensures the democratic governance through the functioning of Panchayati Raj institution, right? Now I am asking you the question. Now I am asking you the question. Can we link these points, these component of democratic governance with the functioning of Panchayati Raj institution? Can we or not? कैसे करोगे? Popular sovereignty, how? Okay. Rule of law. Election will come under the political rights and all. Rule of law. There are certain functions, right, where only the Panchayati Raj institution has power. है ना? Yes, right. So similarly, we have to just link with this with the Panchayati Raj institution. That is what we have to do. Just imagine if you are not able to break down this particular keyword democratic governance. I am telling you what answer you might have written. आप लोगों ने 3 टेम्पलेट पढ़ी है, फंड, फंक्शन एंड फंक्शनरीज, और उसी में पूरा आंसर आप लोगों ने लिखा होगा, राइट? अब forget about it, right? that ancient template will not help you to fetch good marks. The time has come to update it. Though it is correct, fund, function, and functionaries, but beyond that, we also have to think. Otherwise, how would you score a good marks? Because everyone will be writing the same thing, 3 keywords, fund, function, and functionaries, right? So this is how I have divided the breakdown, the keyword, decentralized democracy through popular sovereignty, rule of law, accountability, transparency. And this is how I have linked it, right? For example, accountability, Gram Sabhas and audit hold Panchayat answerable. Transparency, public display of schemes and budgets, right? Citizens engage directly in Gram Sabha meetings. Panchayat act on local needs like roads, water for responsiveness. Equality and inclusion ke liye SC, ST, women get reserved seats in Panchayati Raj institution. Now it is linked, right? So this is the idea. This is the idea we are supposed to link, provide the linking. Correct? This is the second template. This is the second template I was talking about, right? For example, legal and institutional dimension, political dimension, functional dimension, fiscal dimension, and social dimension, right? Whenever we are talking about the Panchayati Raj institution, can we divide at legal and institutional level, at political level, at social level, at fiscal level, and at social level? Are you getting what I'm trying to say here? Everyone? For example, this legal and institutional dimension, schedule 11th to 12th define functions to be devolved. Political dimension, election plus reservation of women. Functional dimension, local bodies empowered for water, sanitation, road. Fiscal dimension, Article 243. Social dimension, Gram Sabha enable direct community voice. So I can use either template. These points are the same points. But the first template was more appropriate because it was highlighting the democratic governance, the component of democratic governance or the decentralized governance, right? So either use this template or the other template. And please try to focus on these keywords. I'm telling you, let any question be there in your question paper asked by the UPSC. Let any question. If you have these keywords, now you know how to apply it, right? If someone is going to just look at these keywords and if he is not going to, or he or she is not going to practice, I'm damn sure the answers will be very vague. It will be very generic answers. So applying the templates, now your job is to go and pick up the previous year's question and try to apply it. To what extent you can apply these templates, that is what you have to practice, right? Now, template for challenges. Can anyone tell me what template can we think about the challenges? Please, no fund, function and functionaries. वो नहीं चाहिए. उसके अलावा, don't think in your notes. Imagine you are the part of that Gram Sabha member. You are sitting in a village. You are part of the Panchayati Raj institution. Okay, funds आ ही गया. चलो, what else? Election, funds. Yes, very good. On the same dimension, we can think. Why are you trying to explore other things? We can use the same dimension, na? Even the previous template, I can say. Even the previous template, that component of democratic governance, can we use that or not? Right? We can use that also. So unnecessarily don't apply or don't think too much. You will not have the time in the examination hall, right? So this is what I have written. Structural, administrative, financial, political, social, legal, capacity and awareness. Right? At different level, I am thinking. Are you getting? And I just need examples. Another thing, when you are applying, when you are thinking about the template, two problem you will face. Two problem you will face, I'm telling you this. Whenever you are going to brainstorm the previous year's question, whenever you will think about generating the template, the first problem you will face is whether you are right or wrong. You will have doubt. You will start asking yourself, am I thinking it appropriately, correctly? So please don't stop there. Keep doing it. गलत है कोई बात नहीं. I don't care about the what is the end result. What I want you to focus on is the process. Brain use होना चाहिए. As simple as that. Right? Template कैसी भी generate हो रही है, it doesn't matter. At least you are putting some effort in deciphering the demand based on the keyword statement. That is what is important in this entire activity or in this entire discussion, right? So this is how I'm going to divide the challenges. Now on the same line, I will also provide the suggestions. In polity questions, whenever you are thinking about the suggestions, yes, Mishri, self-doubt, that is what I have told in the beginning, right? Whenever you are preparing your notes, especially in polity, always think, is there any committee recommendation? Is there any commission established for it? Right? Always think of the value addition. In polity, what could be the value addition? Constitutional amendments could be the value addition. Supreme Court judgments could be value addition. Finance Commission ki recommendation could be value addition. Law Commission ki value recommendation could be value addition. Best practices could be value addition. Right? If you don't have all these dimensions in your notes, it will be very difficult to fetch the good marks. Try to understand this. It is not difficult to score 3.5 out of 10, right? Especially if you are veterans, if you have given 1 or 2 mains, it is not that difficult to basically score 3 or 3.5, but 3.5 marks will not help you to get into the list. Now, what all you have to do, you have to struggle for just 1 marks extra, right? 1 marks extra will change your life forever. And that 1 marks extra will come from the same content, whatever you have in your notes. What all you have to do is the brainstorming. I'm emphasizing on brainstorming so much because I know I have seen the students who have been doing it for last 2 months or 3 months. The entire approach of answer writing has changed. They will be participating soon also in your classes, and we will share their copies after they are going to participate when they will start writing, right? So please make sure you don't ignore all these points which I am discussing. Content to yaar mil jayega kahin se bhi. Everyone you will get the content. What all matter is thought process. I hope this is clear, right? Now, template for suggestions, mandate CF devolution. This is my 1 point. And you are making it 3 points, right? Then increase financial, this point can be included. Then institutionalize social audits, strengthening Gram Sabha, ensure inclusion, promote digital governance. Have you ever thought about digital governance? Our Prime Minister is emphasizing so much on digitalization, digital governance. And has anyone written about the digital governance? Why? वही पुराने 20 साल पुराने पुंची कमीशन and all उनकी recommendation you might be writing, right? See, man, doesn't matter whether you are writing 5 point or 6 points. If you have just 2 points which are very innovative, evaluator will be impressed. Trust me. Because across, if suppose he is evaluating 50 copies, in 50 copies, if he finds 2 copies where only 2 points are innovative, obviously he will give you the extra marks for that. He will be impressed with that. Because even evaluator will have the idea what all points you are going to write. I am damn sure about it. Because see, we have been like into this for last 6 years, 7 years. We know it what you are writing. They are evaluating the copies from last how many years you don't know. They are evaluating the copies based on their experience. Right? They are not sitting with the model answers. They are not sitting with the content. So try to understand this part. Right? So this is some committee's recommendation are there, right? So this is how you can do. Now, as far as the conclusion is concerned, in conclusion, again, you might be thinking, let's conclude it with the grassroots level democracy, but constitutionalism word will be missing in that. So this is the three ways I have provided the conclusion. Constitutionalism is a cornerstone of effective and inclusive governance. Now see, this kind of phrase, right? This kind of phrase are universal. Are universal. Constitutionalism की जगह, if can I use, if suppose there is a different question, right? For example, fiscal autonomy के ऊपर question आ गया, right? Decentralization के ऊपर question आ गया. We just need to replace this word. Yes or no? We can use the same phrase, right? Then constitutionalism ensures democracy is practiced not just at the center but at the grassroots. Then a strong constitution empower local bodies to be true agent of democracy and development. True agent of the democracy and development is the keyword, right? I hope this is clear. Now let's move on to the third question. Again, very important question, tricky question, and I'm sure what you might have missed, right? I will tell you that before I will start with the actual discussion. In the first, the introduction, in this introduction is very important. In the context of infrastructure development, how can the state ensure speedy land acquisition while also upholding citizen constitutional rights under Article 300A? Propose a policy framework, right? What is the idea of introduction? Article 300A or about the development? What else? Or linking between the Article 300A and development? Is there any fourth option? Land reforms, Article 19. Okay, Mishri. What else? 44th Constitutional Amendment. Okay. Are you with that? Are you going to link with the theme of the question? Why the question is asked? What is the theme of the question? The question is asked because in the process or in the name of development, even though the right to property is not your fundamental right, it is being violated. It is your human right, right? Supreme Court has said, though it is not a fundamental right, but it is a human right, which is being violated in the name of development. That is the reason the question is demanding a policy framework. So how are you going to think? How are you going to link? Community rights versus private property. Introduction में कैसे लिखोगे रविकांत? How land acquisition is creating a problem for the infra project delay. See, this question is current affair based. This is a current affair based question. And if the question is current affair based, you must try to write contextual introduction. What does it mean when I say contextual introduction? Contextual introduction means why this issue is being in debate or why this issue is being debated. Yes, very good, very good. So that can be the perfect introduction, right? About Article 300A? No. Brief issues with land acquisition? No. Significance of land for economic development? No. Contextual, if any. What is the context? The Supreme Court upheld that Article 300A, private property, cannot be acquired arbitrarily by the state and mere compensation does not legitimize acquisition without due process. दो लाइन में खत्म हो गया introduction. I have also included Article 300A. I have also included the recent context. Right? Are you getting my point? I hope you are getting the idea of introduction at least now. Right? So you have the previous questions, they were based on the concept. They were based on the concept. This question is based on the issue. Right? Introduction, I always say, always think three types of introduction. There are three types of introduction: significance based, issue based, and definition based. Definition based introduction will always, or most of the time, you have to write the definition based introduction when the question is based on some concept. For example, explain the concept of constitutional morality, explain the concept of checks and balances, right, in the Indian context, or explain the concept of separation of power in the Indian concept, in the Indian context. This is the conceptual question. However, if the question is based on the issue, like this, your statement, the first statement of your answer should highlight the issue itself. If it is based on the significance, it should highlight, the tone should be significance based. ये आप लोग बहुत गलती करते हो, मैंने देखा है, क्वेश्चन इशू बेस्ड जा रहा है एंड यू आर राइटिंग द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ समथिंग. क्वेश्चन सिग्निफिकेंस पूछ रहा है, यू आर राइटिंग द इश्यूज इन द इंट्रोडक्शन. भाई देयर हैज टू बी सम coherence between what the question is asking and what you are writing, right? So now tell me, what is the very first, same thing we are going to apply. Question is propose a policy framework. This demand is very clear, right? This demand is very clear, policy framework. Apart from that, what is the first subheading in your answer? Statement ko break down karo. Again, keep in your mind why this question is asked. What is the first subheading in your answer? Yes, question पूछा क्यों गया है? वो तो पॉलिसी में लिखोगे ना यार. Obviously, that is the core demand of the question, right? But that is the last part of the answer. Before that, context. How are you going to set the context? Question क्यों पूछा गया है? Yes, because there are issues, right? That is also the core demand of the question. Is there any non-core demand? Infra development, what? How to balance that will come under the policy framework. देखो यार, बहुत ही सिंपल सी चीज है, बहुत ही, देयर इज वेरी सिंपल कंसेप्ट, राइट? लैंड इज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर व्हाट? फॉर डेवलपमेंट, है ना? बट इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ एक्विजिशन ऑफ लैंड there are some issues, right? There are some issues. To address the issues, question is demanding to provide the policy framework. As simple as that. इसमें इतना लॉजिक क्या लगा रहे हो? Never ever interpret the question by reading the statement again and again. This is what creates the confusion. Whenever you read the question, always try to create the problem in your mind. Always think what might have happened, why this question is asked, right? So this is very simple. Land acquisition is needed for economic development. This is my non-core demand of the question, right? I can use some flow chart for that. Why speedy land acquisition is important for development. The second part is issues with the land acquisition. Now, this is the keyword I want all of you to break down. See, I'm not here to explain you. I don't want to explain the content first. First, I want you to think. If there are some issues with the land acquisition process, what could be those issues at different level? At different level. Yes? Tell me. Yes? ओके, एक तो आपकी ह्यूमन राइट वायलेट हो रही हैं, राइट, दैट इज अनदर इश्यू. What else? Your constitutional right under Article 300A. What else? Very good. Tribal rights. What else? Endless litigation. Legal rights. Legal rights. Can we say? What else? Environmental rights. Political rights. Because if the process of land acquisition is not fair, right, what will happen? Displacement will happen. When the displacement will happen, who will lose the political rights? Tribals, right? So now can you think various issues, the violation of various rights, right? Your political rights, your social rights, your environmental rights, your legal rights, right? Your human rights, your constitutional rights. So this is how you have to think. And this is what I have written, right? All these points I have written. But always remember, whenever you are using the template, don't use the template as it is. Templates are just to generate the point. Don't make your answers monotonous. हर जगह social, political, economic, no. Don't use like this. Templates should be used to generate the point. Templates should be used to think, right? So I have written the same point, but you will see the points can be applicable for under the same. Social rights, political rights, environmental rights, tribal rights, all this point. So issues with the land acquisition process break down the various types of violation. This is the idea, right? Now now this is the value addition. Has anyone think about it? You have read the current affair. What did you identify from that? No, Supreme Court has intervened, right? According to the recent judgment, Supreme Court said even though it has violated the constitutional right, but the human right should not be violated. The Supreme Court has given certain guidelines. Based on the guideline only you are going to suggest the policy. You cannot just suggest the policy on your own discretion. You have to follow certain guidelines. And that guideline is very, very important. Though it is not specifically asked by the UPSC, this question, but still you are supposed to provide it. Mohit, did you see the yes, rehabilitation, development versus environment, financial challenges, delayed? Yes. So financial right, social right, legal right, tribal right, this is what I was talking about. So your points are also good. Now, this is the guidelines Supreme Court has provided. Right to property as a constitutional and human right, validity of compulsory acquisition, 7 core rights under Article 300A, eminent domain, right? Physical possession is essential. Physical possession is essential. Why? Why? No, possession is not in that context. They have, the displaced people have been given the possession somewhere else or not. It is about, I'm sorry, to reduce litigation, to prevent the misuse of land acquisition. भाई आपने एक जगह लैंड ले लिया, एक्वायर कर लिया, अब उसका सपोज यूजुअली व्हाट हैपेंस, if I want to acquire some land, right, but I'm not yet ready to acquire it physically or completely, so what I will do, suppose government want to acquire a land of 5 lakh rupees, मैं कहूंगा ये ले भाई 50,000 रुपए अभी रख, when I will acquire the entire land physically, I will give you 5 lakh. Now who knows, after 5 years, 10 years, government change, new government will come, the land will be stuck. Government will acquire another land, the next government will come, they will acquire the next land. So ultimately it's a misuse of resources, right? Who is suffering? The citizens are suffering, individuals are suffering. Individuals are suffering at the same time, even development is not taking place. Right? Land acquire kiya hai development ke liye, right? So this is the problem. So all these guidelines the Supreme Court has given related to the land acquisition. Based on this, I will frame the policy. Now tell me, do I need to think about what should be the policy framework? If these are the issues Supreme Court has addressed, how I am going to provide the policy framework? At what level? At what level can you think? Don't think about the point. At finance level, can we think? What? Compensation and all? Rehabilitation level? Yes. What else? Digital level. Very good. For what? Digital for what? Very good. Land record, land mapping. Digital level, can we think? What else? Institutional level, can we think? Legal level, can we think? Legal level, what can we think? Maybe speedy judicial system, trial for litigation, right? Or grievance redressal mechanism has to be there, right? That we can include, right? So at different level, just see, when I am thinking about framing the policy, I am thinking I am the person whose land has been acquired and there is a government. So what support I will be needing? I am thinking practically, not theoretically. कि मैंने पढ़ा क्या है? I am thinking practically. What kind of policy should support the interest of the citizen, of the individuals, right? So at different level, you have to think. So this is my idea. Pre-acquisition stage, right? So I have divided like this. कि भाई पहले acquire करने से पहले pre-acquisition stage, you have to think GIS based ID and early consultation. Then compensation and rehabilitation we have seen. Legal and procedural safeguard like grievance redressal mechanism. Use of technology, for example, use of Samvita for digital land record, LAMS for real-time tracking. A special provision for vulnerable groups because vulnerable groups are most affected population, right? Then higher compensation and safeguard for marginalized communities with compulsory social audit. Social auditing की बात कर सकते हैं. Now, try to understand this part. When you are doing a brainstorming on the previous year's question, sit with your notes. Sit with your notes. If you think the examples needs to be updated, data needs to be updated, do it right then and there. If you are running after one-pager note, again, I will say the same thing. You will not be able to use one-pager note. You will not be able to use the data if you are not going to practice this. Most of you might already have seen the one-pager notes. There are hell lot of notes available in the market also. How many of you have applied it? If you are veteran, were you able to apply while discussing these answers? Answer is no. So your notes, one-pager notes, should incline with your own thought process, with your own brainstorming. कम हो चलेगा, at least use तो कर लोगे, right? Everyone is asking me, sir, is there any one-pager note? How to use one-pager note? Man, how can I say how to use one-pager note? Right? So content is never a problem. How to use the content is a problem. So always sit with your pen and with your notes when you are brainstorming the PYQs. Right? If you will be needing the PYQ like topic wise, you can get in touch with me later on. I'm sitting in the 7B building, first floor. You can get in touch with me. Right? So this is how I will be preparing the points at different level. And after that, I will conclude. I can either link it with the development like Viksit Bharat by 2047, or either I can use the Supreme Court judgment again. As the Supreme Court reaffirms, due process is not a formality, but the soul of justice. Development must walk hand in hand with dignity and rights. Clear? So this is the idea. Yes, most of them are misleading, sir. Obviously, so why are you referring, Mishri? That is the problem. We all know that everything is misleading, but still we are stick to it. That is the problem because we don't want to put any effort, right? I hope this is clear. Now, Shatakshi ma'am will take the discussion forward. She is going to share her expertise, like how she could score very good marks in GS paper 2. She will discuss the strategy. Whatever the doubts you will have, you can ask her also, but don't throw hell lot of doubts on her. She will be sitting with us. She will be dealing with the queries in the 7B building also, so you can come and discuss. But please make sure you, yes. Uh-huh. Same thing. Remove the tail word, divide the statement, divide the keyword. Depends on the tone of the question. Read the question, I'll tell you. How is the keyword, tail word? How is the tail word? But how is the descriptive tail word? Don't apply the logic here. Don't flip the coin in this to address the answer of this question. If the question is how, what, explain, pen उठाओ और सीधे 10 पॉइंट लिख दो. No need to write down or no need to analyze. Don't try to act smart in those kind of questions. If question is saying explain, then the question, it means you should explain the concept properly. Whether there are some issues with the concept or whether it how significant they are, it's not the demand. Explain the concept. Everything clear, everyone? So the more number of questions you will practice on a daily basis, this is how we are going to conduct the session. I am damn sure in 15 or 20 days, you will see the change in your answer writing. That is for sure. See whether you are veterans or see if you are fresher. So I'm assuming you will not be having the notes, right? So yes, very less. So when you are going to see, pick up the previous year's questions topic wise, go through the questions, like how many questions UPSC has asked in last like 10-15 years. Identify the core themes. I think there is one video I have prepared on the YouTube. Please watch that. How to analyze the PYQ for notes making. It's already uploaded on the Vajiram YouTube channel. I have prepared a proper discussion video on that. So, but still, if you will have any doubt, please, you can meet me. Okay, so Shatakshi ma'am, please come and you will, she will take the session forward.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So, this is the fourth question. Discuss the implications of judicial recognition of personality rights in India. How do such rulings balance between freedom of expression and the right to privacy? And this is a 15-marker question. Okay, so approach differs a little, not much, when we come on 15 markers. So, I've written the process. How to start, after reading when you see the question, how to proceed with that question. Firstly, read the question carefully. Okay, what I did in my first attempt, when I could not clear, I scored, I think, around 80 marks in GS paper 2. So I didn't read the question. I just saw the peripherally and started writing the answer. So what you need to do is read the question carefully and underline the keywords. The keywords in this question is personality rights first, judicial recognition. That is also a keyword. Freedom of speech and expression and right to privacy. These four are the keywords. Underline or just box it. Okay, this is the first step. Just highlighting the keywords. Secondly, understand the demand of the question. Yes. Volume. अच्छा तेज बोला. Volume. Okay. So what is the demand of the question according? Anybody can tell me what is the demand, the core demand of the question? Anyone? Yes, please. The what? Okay. But firstly, yes. Okay. So yes, the contextual. The reason why this question is appearing is the context. Firstly, the context, the recent Anil Kapoor case or the Jackie Shroff case, where the Delhi High Court and Bombay High Court granted some personality rights to Anil Kapoor and to Jackie Shroff for their voice or for their characters. Firstly, that, and second, the social media, the new issues which are emerging. So, what are personality rights and the judicial recognition of personality rights? As I mentioned, from the Delhi High Court and the Bombay High Court. And secondly, how does this recognition create a balance and conflict and balance between freedom of expression, that is Article 19, and right to privacy, that is Article 21. This is a core question from Constitution, from fundamental rights and judiciary. So now if we understand the demand of the question, what is the question demanding from us? Tailward focus, as Sir mentioned, discuss. This is a descriptive kind of question. We have to just describe, not critically evaluate. The question is descriptive in nature. That is discuss. Create the answer structure in mind, especially the body. Okay, so what will be the structure? First, you will be writing about freedom of speech or expression. Introduction, body, conclusion. That structure we all know. Introduction, conclusion, that is non-negotiable. But in the body, what will be the structure? How many parts? How many subparts? How many points in first part, how many points in second part? That kind of structure you need to create in mind. The heading, especially. Create the answer structure in that is done. Explore the templates to generate 15 to 17 points. This is also where it plays a role. What I did in my first attempt was, in 15 marker, I used to write 7 to 8 points. That is not enough. In 10 markers, we need to write 10 to 12 points. And in 15 markers, you need to write 15 and 17 points in total. Lastly, this I always say, content, structure, and time management. Answer writing is about these three things. Content, that is not the much focus of these sessions, that you already have. And living in Rajendra Nagar, there is no dearth of content. We have enough content. Structure, this is where the main problem lies. We lack answer structure a lot. We don't think about that. We think we have top-notch content, we have done coaching, we have the notes from image runners or anything like that. We have top-notch content. But what happens is that content does not translate into good structure. Okay. So you need to focus on content, structure, and the time management. Some of you might not have completed the answer in the given time frame. So when you have content and when you have structure in your mind, then only you will be able to complete the paper. Take it from me, I am a very slow writer. I used to leave few questions during test series due to time paucity, but I was able to complete the paper because balance between content and structure, it comes automatically. You need to have content, you need to have structure. When you have structuring in the back of your mind already, you just start writing it. Okay. So now we start with the answer. Now we are done with the process. Now about this question. Firstly, introduction template. First is definition based, but there is not much scope to define, because if you define personality rights, you will miss out on freedom of speech and expression and right to privacy. Or if you start to define both, the introduction will become very lengthy. So what you could do is combine either write contextual introduction, as I mentioned about the Delhi and Bombay High Court rulings giving personality rights to Anil Kapoor and Jackie Shroff. This introduction will be good, combining it with what is personality rights, but that will only focus on personality rights. Now combine this with constitutional dimension, preamble. Trace freedom of speech and expression and right to privacy in Constitution. Where does it emerge from in the Constitution? The emergence of freedom of speech and expression is in the preamble, liberty. Freedom of speech and expression emanates from liberty. And secondly, this. Right to privacy, where does it emerge from? Article 21, right to life and dignity. So individual dignity. These both are part of preamble. So you can mix this Bombay High Court ruling, Delhi High Court ruling, along with the constitutional dimension and create a good introduction. It is a 15 marker, so you have liberty to give some 4 line introduction. So you can create a very good introduction. I have not given the introduction because that is your work to think. How will you innovatively link this and create a very good introduction? That will differ from person to person. Okay. So now this introduction is done. Definition based is very common. Everybody does that. But what you have to do is identifying the keywords and mixing all of them in creating a good introduction. That it sums up the question, the core demand of the question. The examiner must get a sense that you know what is the demand of the question. If you just excessively focus on personality rights or freedom of speech and expression, the examiner will get the sense that you don't understand the question. You understand the question partially, and it will give him an impression, and they will check your answer with that impression. So sum up the demand of the question in the introduction itself. It has to be very catchy. Yeah, that's it. Yes, the body structure. There are 4 parts. Firstly, implications of judicial recognition, positive as well as implications. It has not said positive implications. So if you can think of something negative like judicial overreach or anything like that, mention it. But you have to prioritize. Firstly, write good points because this is about expansion of individual rights. So you have to be optimistic and positive about that. So start with good implications. And if there is some paucity of points, then you can also explore the negative dimension as well. Second is conflict with freedom of speech and expression. Because the question first mentions freedom of speech and expression. Be very systematic when you write the answer. Identify in which order the question is being asked. You cannot just create a haphazard answer structure, like starting with freedom of speech and expression. Some might start with Article 19, but that is not advisable. Start how the question is asked. The question is asked in a certain way because there is a certain reason. The examiner wants a particular kind of answer structure from you. So second would be conflict with freedom of speech and expression. Third, heading. These one thing more. Create headings from the question. Do not create new headings. Pick up words from the question and create the headings. That will give a direction to your answer, and it will ensure that you stick to what is being asked in the question and you do not go here and there. Third, scope of right to privacy is enhanced. Freedom of speech and expression is mentioned in a negative way, that personality rights impact freedom of speech and expression in a negative manner. So here we have used the word conflict with freedom of speech and expression. And scope of right to privacy, it has been used in a positive manner. So how it is enhanced. But this conflict and this enhancement has to be balanced. That creates your fourth part. That is the hidden subpart. The balance between hidden, this is the main demand. Balance between freedom of speech and expression and right to privacy. So these 4 are the body structure that you have to think in the beginning. What subparts are you going to create and how the 15 and 17 points are going to fit in these. So firstly, generating points using templates. First part, judicial recognition implications. 2 points I have mentioned. Points prioritization. What are the important points? What are the most relevant points must appear in the first. The non-core points which we just sometimes use because of paucity of points, and when we cannot think, that needs to be in the 4th or 5th last point. Okay, because it happens. Not all points will be top quality. You will have some 3-4 points which are very good quality and very much relevant to the answer, and some points will be there which are peripherally relevant to the question, but you can use them. So use them at last. They should not form the first part of your question, first point. And multiple templates. Don't go using just one template. This just using pestle approach, that is political, economic, social, technological, environmental, legal, administrative, cultural. You're just using this, it will make your answer very monotonous, and the examiner will get the sense. These words are very common. Everybody knows. The one checking also will know that you have used this approach or that approach. So just mix and match the approach. Some points from this approach, some I will elaborate these, but first let me give you an idea. Pestle approach, the stakeholder approach. Use 2 points from pestle approach. Use 1 point from stakeholder approach. 2 points from constitutional values approach. So when you mix these, it will make your answer more interesting, more diversified, and not monotonous. So pestle approach, from here you can use the legal dimension. Judicial recognition gives a legal recognition, a tangible right to the person. Okay, so this you can use here, pestle approach. You can expand. I'm just giving you an idea how to write the answer. Content, I have not detailed this because that you need to think. Content, there is no paucity of content with all of you. So I'm just giving you the brief structure how to think. Okay, secondly, stakeholder approach. Individual level, how does this impact anybody? At the individual level, what is the implication of judicial recognition of personality rights? Uh, Protects the identity, gives them more confidence. You can use keywords like creative freedom, these kind of things, keywords you can use. You can think at the individual level and you can give the example. If you have not used the Anil Kapoor Jackie Shroff example in the first, you can use that. You can use the celebrities example like Amitabh Bachchan, his voice, or anything, any good creative example you can give. Social. What is the social implication of judicial recognition? There is more awareness in society about what are their personality rights, and it will create a more aware society. So this is not a very high quality point, so you can prioritize it and write it at the last. That is what I was mentioning. Some points will be highly relevant and some points will be just not very highly relevant, so that needs to be prioritized. Second, national, I cannot think of much. International, yes, international standards. We get these news that India IPR violation and these kind of news. So that international image of India could be improved. More celebrities, could be given personality rights that will enhance the international image of India, and the lawsuits filed under IPR that could also be somewhat dealt with. Constitutional values approach. Again, our constitution is based on certain values. Best way to map it is preamble, fundamental rights, DPSP, and fundamental duties. Pick out some values or some articles from there and use them and link it to whatever your heading is. Okay, so here, liberty, dignity, I mentioned already in the introduction. Privacy, freedom of speech and expression. Use these. What will be their impact? Your next part will be scope of freedom of speech and expression and right to privacy. So here you can give a prelude. You can mention these two. So it will give a prelude to what is coming up in your answer. And that will be so how to do this. Okay. Sorry. Generating points using templates, freedom of speech and expression, right to privacy. That is the second demand of the question. First part you have addressed. Second part, it has subparts. Firstly, conflict with freedom of speech and expression. Freedom of speech and expression, everybody knows Article 19. What is freedom of speech and expression to you? Individual level, then it is at media level. What the media shows you, the freedom of speech and expression of media. Thirdly, of the new form of media, that is social media. Thirdly, commercial interest. Sometimes for example, some gyms or these things use the posters of celebrities to show their fitness or something just to advertise them. And third, lastly, is public interest. How using these celebrities, public can be influenced in a positive way. Like we saw in Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, celebrities or these were roped in to create a good public interest in society. So how this recognition of personality rights, it is very individualistic in nature. Personality rights is not a social right. It is very individualistic in nature. And how does it hinder freedom of speech and expression? That you can show at different levels. You have to explore different facets of freedom of speech and expression and how recognition of these personality rights hinders those. Okay. So this will be addressed by this part. You can write around 4 points in the first part, the previous one, and you can write 3-4 points here. Thirdly, scope of right to privacy. You can use Puttaswamy judgment, Article 21. There are different facets of right to privacy as well. The spatial privacy, the privacy on social media, or different facets. So I cannot recollect right now, but I had that in my notes. You must be knowing different facets of privacy, the spatial privacy and the informational privacy, different kinds of privacy. What are those? And how does this judgment enhance that? This part has a positive tone to it. The previous one had a negative tone. How does it conflict it? This one, you have to show how different facets of privacy are enhanced due to this judicial recognition to privacy rights. You have to bring in judicial recognition in every point. How does this, because that is the main demand of the question, how does judicial recognition very important to right to privacy? Now, the last part of this question, which is very important and which will show how you link these questions. We all have heard interlinkages. Everywhere, every topper, every class, every institute, focus on interlinkages. This is the moment where you can show that you're good at interlinkages. Now you have to interlink freedom of speech and expression and right to privacy, which you can show through C. Here also I have used multiple templates: stakeholder approach, constitutional value approach, and syllabus mapping approach. Firstly, stakeholder approach. Public interest needs to be balanced with individual interest. At to what level does personal rights be kept above public interest? When I think there is some public interest doctrine by Supreme Court, to what level public interest can be weighed below the personal right. So that you can use your constitutional value approach. Again, liberty, dignity, these two along with fraternity is very important. Now we talked about what is liberty, what is dignity. Here you can bring in fraternity as well. We have to interpret it in such a way that fraternity is not disturbed. The social dimension is not compromised. The syllabus mapping approach. This is the approach. I'll explain, brief it a little. Syllabus mapping approach. When you are not able to generate some points, what you do is just firstly learn the syllabus by heart. You need to know what is the syllabus in GS 1, 2, 3, 4, every single word. So what happens is when a question related to constitution comes, you can just think what other points in the syllabus I can generate points from, like from judiciary, from parliament. You can bring in the legislature. That legislature could bring some law or some guidelines that that will create a balance between these things. How judiciary can refrain from judicial overreach and balance between the individual rights and the public interest. So this syllabus mapping approach, that it helps you when you have some paucity of points. Okay, so this will just complete your answer in a holistic manner. All subparts has been addressed. You have mixed the templates. The answer, mixing templates is important because the answer should not look templated. In every answer, you're writing social, political, economic, or individual, society, national, international. That should not be the case. You have to mix and match the templates. Okay, so that is done. Now conclusion. In such kind of questions, keyword based conclusion is what I find is the most appropriate thing. Either you should have a good quote or some good keywords, like freedom of expression is a mean as well as an end to itself, and privacy is a natural right and a human right. So you can mix these both, and the scope of personality right should be interpreted in the light of these two. So you can mix it. You have used keywords. You have just summed up the question. The conclusion is important. Why? The introduction is important. It gives an impression to what is coming up. Conclusion is important because this is where after the examiner gives you marks. If you have written a good answer but a bad conclusion, the marks will be compromised. So that is why introduction and conclusion are said to be the most important part. After this, marks is given. So make sure that you write a very good conclusion, not some generic conclusion. Okay. So this is done. Any doubts in this answer? Anybody? Okay. So we'll proceed to the next question, last question. Language, again, the same process we will follow here. Reading the question and collecting the keywords and then understanding the demand of the question. Let's do that first. Language inclusion within the 8th schedule strengthens linguistic federalism, yet paradoxically paradoxically reinforces exclusionary politics. Critically evaluate. Tell me what are the keywords in this question. Louder, please. Yes. Okay. Two. Okay. So we'll see. The keywords are language. Firstly, the question starts with language. Language. Secondly, eighth schedule. Schedules are part of the constitution. You cannot miss out on this keyword. Eighth schedule. Why there is a demand to be included in eighth schedule? Why is eighth schedule so important? This makes it very relevant and a highly important keyword in this question. Thirdly, linguistic federalism. Lastly, exclusionary politics. So now understanding the demand of the question. The demand of the question is language inclusion within the eighth schedule strengthens linguistic. Actually, there are just two main core demands. Firstly, you need to brief about eighth schedule, and then there are just two parts. How does inclusion in eighth schedule is strengthening linguistic federalism in India? And secondly, how does it reinforce exclusionary politics? And the tail word that is critically evaluate. Okay, so now you need to find a balance also. You cannot just be optimistic and then criticize and then end the answer with conclusion. So the third part is how to create a balance between this. That there comes a way forward. Okay, I recommend to write a way forward if not directly asked. Then also in all the question in briefly, if asked, then you have to write it. But what I did in this attempt was that I used to write way forward in all the questions, irrespective of whether it is asked or whether it is not asked. If asked, you can write 4 points. If not asked, then also write 2 points. Okay, so that will give value to your answer before the conclusion. There is difference between way forward and conclusion. So way forward needs to be a part of this answer. So the process is same now. Tail word, critically evaluate. This is positive as well as negative. This is not descriptive. You have to analyze this answer. Create the answer structure in mind. The process is same like the last answer. Explore the templates to generate 15 to 17 points. The content, structure, and time management. Now we'll proceed to what is the structure of this answer. Introduction template. Again, definitional I have not included here because that is a very common approach. And what you will define in this, eighth schedule or federalism or exclusionary politics or language, what can you define? There is a paucity of space, so skip the definitional aspect. Contextual. Recently, I think in April, there is demand for including Bhojpuri in eighth schedule. So you can start with this. That will address the eighth schedule demand. You can link it with article constitutional approach by article 344(1) or 351. So these are related to eighth schedule, which govern the eighth schedule. So you can use using the articles in paper 2 is a very good approach. In the introduction, the article, Supreme Court judgment. So make sure that you know the topics in news, you know what articles they are related to. What languages? You can use if it is in news. If it's in news, you can definitely use and mix it with these articles, or again the constitutional, the core theme of constitution, fraternity or these kind of things. The culture, the article 29 and 30, which talks about minority rights and the language, the linguistic identity. So definitely you can do that. So I don't no. Then that you cannot use. No. Language is the keyword, but language in eighth schedule. So you cannot use. I just misinterpreted what you were saying. So you cannot use that classical languages. This question is about inclusion in eighth schedule. I said eighth schedule. Why is it so important? The languages included in eighth schedule have a certain edge over other languages. There are many languages, they are recognized by the government, but why there is so frenzy to be included in eighth schedule? Why is Bhojpuri, the people of Bhojpur, why do they want their language to be included in eighth schedule? Because there are certain privileges like these funds are devolved for these languages can be used in parliament, the translators, and different kinds of benefits that are associated by being included in the 8th schedule. That is why 8th schedule is the keyword. Language is the keyword, but you cannot just start with language. You can start talking about Sanskrit or anything, but no, this answer is about language and 8th schedule. You have to see, you have to identify the keywords and just interlink those keywords. You cannot just interpret this keyword in a boxed manner. There is no watertight separation. These are linked. It needs to be holistic and comprehensive. You have to link language with 8th schedule and 8th schedule with linguistic federalism, and then linguistic federalism with exclusionary politics. That will create a holistic introduction or a holistic answer. If you start with language, what will happen is, what is language, why is language important, it will create an impression that you're beating around the bush. You're not directly coming to the demand of the question, because there is no scope to beat around the bush, because the answer already is so long. You have paucity of space. You cannot just beat around the bush. You need to start with what is the core demand of the question. That is where this role plays, understanding the demand of the question. Okay, so you cannot do that. You need to be very much relevant to what is being asked in the question. So now body structure. Firstly, the introduction we are done with. Now, language inclusion in 8th schedule, strengthening linguistic federalism. This will be the first part in the body. Second part will be how does it reinforce exclusionary politics? And third will be the way forward. Now, what to do? It is creating good impacts, it's creating bad impacts. Now, what is the way forward? How can we balance these two? That needs to be written here. So now let's start with the first point. Linguistic federalism. Again, point prioritization is important. Pestle approach. Administrative empowerment. Okay, people of different areas will feel they are more administratively empowered. Their language is used as an administrative language. It gives a sense of empowerment. When your language is used as a language of the administration, you can read more documents, because everybody does not know English. Everybody in southern states does, and the eastern states does not know Hindi. So when their language is included as an administrative language, it creates a sense of empowerment when their identities are recognized. So that you can mention here. Cultural pride, that I said, administrative and cultural pride. People will feel more fraternity with their loved one, with the society. And what it creates a cross-cutting identity. For example, there are different religions, there are different kinds of economic inequalities, different inequalities. But what language creates? It creates a cross-cutting identity. It cuts across the religion, the caste, the people of different caste, people of different religion. When they speak single language, they feel a part of fraternity. So that is cultural pride. Now, pestle approach. We got 2 points from pestle approach. Now, stakeholder approach. Social capital. How does it create social capital? A network of people who speak your language. Some languages are endangered, like I don't know much, I think Tulu, or some languages which are endangered. It creates a social capital. When it gets recognized, there are more funds devoted to that language, and there is more awareness created around that language. People strive to learn that language, which creates a social capital, a network of people who speak that language. Thirdly, national integration, that I mentioned here, the cross-cutting identities. You can mention that here as well. It creates some cross-cutting identities which which looks over the small disturbances, small cleavages, and integrates the nation as a whole. International pride. Again, their language could be, there are translators in United Nations and different bodies. There could be more translators, and their language could be spread to different bodies. So that will also create an international pride for the speakers of those language and whole country. Any language from India, Telugu, Tamil, or Assamese, if it is spoken and recognized at international level, it is not only pride for those sections of the society, but for the whole country as a whole, that a language from our country is being recognized at international level. So here is where international role plays. Thirdly, again, constitutional values approach. You can link these to Article 19, freedom of speech and expression, creating liberties, freedom of speech and expression in not only a particular language, but in any language one can wish for. Article 29 and 30, the minority rights, which recognize the linguistic minorities. Thirdly, DPSP, promotion of languages. It is about Hindi, but you can just generate some points from there as well. So that is there. Now the second part, exclusionary politics. How does this inclusion, the demand for inclusion in its schedule, create exclusionary politics? Firstly, testal approach. Again, political bargaining. Different sections of the different speakers of the language, they just now recently Bhojpuri is creating demand for recognition in its schedule. Some new language will come that they will also demand. So it creates a political bargaining kind of situation. Okay, so the more strikes, the more unrest in society. So that is political bargaining. Economic burden, there is more languages in schedule 2, there is more economic burden to devolve funds to translate the pages, it becomes parliamentary language. So there is an economic burden. This is not the core point. So again, prioritize it, write it at the last. I have mentioned it here because I have mentioned the approach here. You can write this point at the last. Stakeholder approach. Again, you can think about different sections of the society, individual level, not much scope to devolve. Subaltern or tribal section of the society, the tribals who are not much aware about this language politics, that they can get their languages included in the 8th schedule, they are left behind. So there is a situation of inequality created. Article 14 gets compromised. You can use Article 14 again here also. National integration, here we talked about how it integrates the nation. Sometimes it also divides the nation. We have seen from the international examples also, what happened in Bangladesh, what happened in Sri Lanka. So you can use these case studies as examples to make your point. Okay, examples will create a value addition in your answers. Lastly, again, constitutional values approach. Equality, I mentioned there. National language, I think some DPSP or some directive that is mentioned in the constitution talks about national language. So that you can use here. Current issues approach. This is another approach, something which is in news, which is not directly or indirectly related to this topic, like the 3-language formula and the frenzy it created, that what languages to be taught, what language not to be taught. We are already seeing an issue which is creating so much disturbance. So this has a potential to create more disturbances in society. You can use this example to validate this point, okay, which is not directly related to this, but it has somewhat relation. You can just use this point to validate what you are describing here. Lastly, way forward. Again, legal, you can have an objective criteria. How many speakers are there of this language, the population, the level of endangerment, what this language faces. Is it recognized as a classical language or not? Are there enough courses or enough, are they being taught in school or not? These objective criterions can be used to show what is the level of endangerment, and then it can be included. I think there are some criterion, but that criteria needs to be more objective and more awareness needs to be created about these criteria. Secondly, constitutional. Again, cross-cutting identity. If you have not used their fraternity, DPSP, fundamental duties, you can pick out some good keywords from these, collect some good keywords. What you do is just say from preamble, from fundamental rights, DPSP and fundamental duties, just create a glossary of good keywords. That you will be, some 8 questions come from this constitution part. So you can use those keywords, repeat it. There will be multiple keywords that you can use in different answers. So do that. Lastly, in conclusion, again, keywords. That is why I'm saying just collect some good keywords in the constitution, related to the constitution. Use ChatGPT or anything. Just put the topic and just collect some good keywords, create a glossary. That will help you to elevate your answer. So conclusion, keywords based, egalitarian, linguistic, democracy. So everything is covered in this. Linguistic, democracy, linguistic covers this language keyword. Egalitarian covers this exclusionary, and democracy covers this federalism part. So now in these 3 words, egalitarian, linguistic, democracy, you have summed up the entire demand of the question, and you will be able to complete your answer with a very good keyword, very impactful, so that you gain an edge over others and you can score that 0.5 or 1 marks more. Okay, scoring 1 marks more across 20 questions, that will increase your marks by 20. So try to improve your score by 0.5 or 1 marks extra in every question. Do something that will take your score above 1 mark. So that will increase your total marks by 20. So this is what these keywords do. So this is what you can do. And thank you. Any doubt in this last question you can ask. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, everyone. I hope everything is clear. All the doubts is clear. Okay. Uh, if you are just fresher in answer writing, I believe you might be facing the issues related to the content structuring, right? But one thing I want to tell you, whenever you are doing the brainstorming, there are three things you need to focus on. Okay. Like I said, the very first thing, never judge. The first rule is never think about the content. Never think about the content. Means many of you might think question padha content nahi aa raha hai, so let's move on to the next question. Never do this. I'm saying when you are doing a brainstorming wala part. Okay. Second point, focus on the structuring of the structuring means three things: identify keyword, tail word, and statement, which can be broken down, right? And let me tell you one thing, when you will be able to identify the keywords, just write it down. Suppose keyword 1, keyword 2, or theme, important theme of the question, right? Write it down on a piece of paper, and trust me, by looking at the various keywords and the theme of the question, you will be able to establish the link. You will be able to establish the link. Usually the keyword themes are distributed in the question itself, right? So when we read the statement of the question, it becomes very difficult to focus on those keywords and pick up the theme. So that is the reason, sit with a pen and paper and write down all these keywords, what is the core theme, and try to think what could be the possible linkages between these words, right? The way we have discussed in the development wala question. And that's how you will start generating the points. That's how you will start finding the scope to divide the statement of the question. That's how you will start finding the scope to divide the keywords in the question. But again, I'm saying, without practice, without brainstorming, this skill will not get developed. And without this skill, your notes, be it one pager, be it full pager, whatever it is, it will not help. कितनी भी टेम्पलेट रट लोगे नहीं काम चलेगा, you already know it, right? Try to create your own template, and you have seen how it is, how easy it is. It is just a matter of time, matter of practice, matter of brainstorming. Trust me, do it for 15 days and meet me after that. Anyway, we are going to meet on a daily basis, but still, after 15 days, give me a feedback. Yes, sir, whether I have improved or not. But don't come without practice. Come with along with your copies. I want to see it how you are doing it. और 5 क्वेश्चन लेके मत दिखा देना कि बस 5 क्वेश्चन कर दिए and we are not learning anything. Because I know if you are going to sit with 10-15 questions, you will learn. Because if I have learned, if some other students are learning, you will also learn this technique, this skill, and that is what going to help you to score very good marks. एक नंबर बढ़ाने हैं यार, 0.5 नंबर बढ़ाने हैं, right? Content से you won't be able to fetch extra marks. I'm telling you this because content has some limitations, right? Content has limitations. Question may come or may not come from the content what you have read, right? Even if you have memorized the content, what is the guarantee you will be able to recall it in the examination hall? Blackout हो जाते हैं लोग. So in that moment, your practice will help you to frame the answer. It has to be in your subconscious mind. इतनी practice कर लो. As soon as you see the question, you should know I will break the demand in this way. Okay. So I hope the session was helpful. I'll see you all in the next session, which is tomorrow, please do not skip any test. Continue with the answer writing, continue with the notes making. All the process has to be in sync. Okay. So thank you so much. See you tomorrow again.